Stan, Presto, Quickflix and Netflix.
Which streaming service will rule down under?
Welcome to Vertical Hold, the tech show where we channel surf through the headlines in search of the big picture. I'm Adam Turner, and I'm here with the man who made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs, Alex Kidman. Alex, what's new in tech?
Microsoft's made significant announcements around Windows 10, stating that it'll be a free upgrade for the first year after it comes out if you're a Windows 7 or 8 user. It also showed off an 84-inch 4K Surface Hub for workspaces, as well as the HoloLens, its augmented reality glasses that show a vision, quite literally, of where it thinks Windows is heading.
The long-awaited Apple Watch will start shipping in April, according to head honcho Tim Cook. The cheapest model will sell for $349 US, although there's no word yet as to whether Australians will see the Apple Watch in April or if we'll have to wait a little longer before we can strap on the latest Apple Wonder gadget.
Vodafone's made a pitch for the fixed-line broadband crowd, launching the Huawei 4G Cube. It's basically a tethered Wi-Fi hotspot for up to 32 users, and as the name suggests, it runs on Vodafone's 4G network, although, confusingly, it isn't actually a cube.
Communications Minister Malcolm Turnbull has officially signed off on plans to roll Telstra and Optus's HFC pay TV cable networks into the new look NBN. The cable networks will add about 3 million users to the NBN starting in March 2016, although a significant back-end overhaul will be required to give all users fibre-like speeds.
So Adam, Microsoft's shown off its vision for wearable computing, augmented reality and of course Windows with the HoloLens. Do you rate it?
I definitely rate it higher than Google Glass.
Well, that's not hard.
Yes. I can see a lot more potential uses for it. It's designed slightly differently and they're targeting different users in a different way. It's designed to be basically big sunglasses that it can then project images onto, so when you look at the world around you, you will see other things superimposed on the top, unlike Google Glass, which is just a little screen in the corner. Maybe the best way to think about that, and one of the examples they showed off, is you might be doing a repair job and you're trying to repair the taps under the pipes under the sink. Wearing this headset, you can see the pipes under the sink, but you can also see like schematics superimposed over the top of this is the tool that you'll need, this is the pieces that you need, this is what you need to do to step you through the process. Now that can apply to anything. You can use it for games, you can use it for instructional things, you can use it for repair jobs, and that to me I think is a lot more practical than Google Glass seemed to be much more of a hey, let's get out in the real world and interact with people and perhaps impinge on their privacy a little bit. HoloLens seems to be moving in a different direction.
I think the privacy thing for Google Glass was a little overblown, but I agree with you. I think Microsoft's been a bit savvy here in working out that this is something that you might wear around the office or around home, but not necessarily fully out and about. And I think that's where a lot of the mockery of Google Glass came from. Whether or not they can sell it, and of course when they'll sell it is anyone's guess. They've just said it's going to come in the lifespan of Windows 10. That could be tomorrow, that could be 5 years from now. 2015 is lining up to be the year that streaming media really kicks off in Australia. We've seen the recent launches of both Stan and Presto. Quickflix is already out there, and Netflix will be here by the end of March. Adam, what do you reckon that these services are doing right now?
What are they doing right? What they're doing right is they're trying to sign up as many content deals as possible and flesh out their libraries, because that is their weakness that people don't understand until they actually get in and use these things. People think, and you'll still read stories in the paper that will tell you Netflix has every TV show and movie ever made. No, not even close.
And we've said this time and time again, that
but people
Netflix
still don't
doesn't
get it.
have everything, and it's not just that they don't have everything, things come and go. Not just new releases, but here's that classic series you've been thinking about watching for some time. Oh, actually, we don't have that one anymore.
Because we just lost the rights to it. And it's not just picking on Netflix, they're all like that. You will not find everything on Netflix that you'll find at your local video store. Firstly, all the
If you
new
have a
release
local
rentals
video
are
store.
missing. Like, you don't see a rental that comes out and on the iTunes store or Google Play. It doesn't turn up in Netflix or any of the others at the same time. You have to wait. But even the old stuff, you won't find Star Wars in these things. You won't find usually Indiana Jones and stuff like that. Stuff that's 30 years old that you would assume would be there. It's a real... If you sit down with Netflix and think, I want to watch such and such a movie and search for it, it probably won't be there. 10 movies later, you'll be lucky to find one. The better way to watch these things is to say, oh, what have they got today, and flick through and choose something. If you think you're getting everything ever made, you're really setting yourself up for disappointment.
It's one of the things, in a weird way though, it's one of the things that actually I kind of like about these services that I miss from the old video store days, because the reality is that the video store as an Australian institution is vanishing.
Yes.
There's in major metropolitan centres, there's precious few of them around. Plenty of those little kiosks that'll give you a disc, but they're totally new release obsessed. There's nothing archival in those. And the fact that I'd go to a Netflix or a Stan or a Presto and say, oh, well, I want to watch this. Oh, they don't have that. But the suggestions mechanism within them can lead me to those kind of results that you used to get if you went down to the video store thinking, I want to rent that hot new release. Oh, they're all out. Okay, I'll grab that.
I'll see what else they've got.
I've watched countless movies and I've been exposed to some interesting stuff that way. Yeah. And they have that kind of mechanism all built in. I guess
that's when the recommendations come into play as well. They're good at looking what you've watched and recommending other things. And one thing that I think at this point Netflix is the only one of the four that does is it lets you create multiple users. So if you've got, the nice thing about Netflix is it's not you're not locked to a specific number of devices. If you're using any of the others, you can register 2 or 3 devices and that's it. And if you want to change one, you have to wait a month or blah blah blah, all this rubbish. Netflix doesn't work that way. If you own 10 things that work with Netflix, you can log into all of them, and the only restriction is you can only watch a live stream on 2 or 3 at the same time before it says no, you're watching on too many devices. This means that you can use it a lot more and you can jump around the house and you can set up on everything, but it also means that everyone in your house is more likely to use it. So Netflix starts recommending movies for you, and suddenly your recommendations start getting influenced by what your partner's been watching or what your kids have been watching, and it's like, this is not cool, Netflix. You know that I like Die Hard movies. Why are you pitching the Bridges of Madison County to me, right? Now,
Your secret's safe with me, Adam.
Okay. The way Netflix gets around this is once it sees that you're using a few different devices, it says, hey, I think there might be more than one person in your house who's watching Netflix. Would you like to create another profile? And so you can create a few profiles for mum, for dad, for the kids, and then when you sit down and watch on any device, it says, okay, who's watching? And it says, right, Adam's watching.
And then it builds that profile up from there.
Adam, here's the things that I've seen you watch. Here's what I think you might want.
Quickflix has been around the longest in terms of these services, but it's very much seen as the minnow in this particular battle, financially and in terms of coverage. How do you rate it? What's your Quickflix experience been like?
Quickflix is unlucky because it's done all the hard work in Australia, and now it looks like it might get overrun by all these new players that have come in. Quickflix doesn't brag as much about exclusive content deals as some of the others does, but the advantage that Quickflix has got over Stan and Presto is that because it's been around for longer, it works on a lot more devices.
Coverage is good. The coverage is definitely very good.
Right now, if you want to watch Presto on your television, the only way to do it is through a Chromecast. If you want to watch Stan on your television, the only way to do it is either through a Chromecast or Apple TV streaming, AirPlay streaming. If you want to watch Quickflix on your television, you can do it through a Chromecast. You'll find apps for games consoles, for PVRs, for smart televisions, for Blu-ray players. There's this whole range of devices, so it's much easier for you. Don't have to if your kids want to watch something on Quickflix, you don't have to hand over your phone.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, I guess this then leads into Presto, which is Foxtel's take, and as you've mentioned, they're limited to Chromecast only, and in fact they're limited in other ways as well. A lot of people have picked up on the fact that they don't have much content, but they've also got some bizarre technical limitations in there too.
Well, but also the way the library works is different as well. You don't get movies and TV shows for $10 like you do on the others. With Presto, you either get movies for $10 or TV shows for $10 or movies and TV shows for $15. Yeah. And the movies that you get are relatively new releases, but no back catalogue, so things disappear as soon as they're no longer on the Foxtel movie channels. They're no longer in Presto, so you kind of got strengths and weaknesses depending on what you're looking for. But yeah, you were saying,
That's-
tell me about what kind of technical restrictions have you seen on Presto?
Okay, well, yeah, the content thing is one thing, and Presto's in that weird space where, because they're part of the Foxtel empire, they could have all sorts of content. You look at something like Foxtel Go or Foxtel Play, and they've got loads of streaming rights, clearly.
Yeah.
But they're not all showing up on Presto just yet. It'd be really interesting to see where that goes. But on the technical side, Presto's really limited. You've only got 4 devices. And if you stream to, you can only stream to 2 at once. If you stream to a Chromecast from a device, that's your 2 devices at once. Which means if you're streaming up to your big TV, no one else can watch anything. To make it slightly more annoying, as I discovered while I was testing it, if it crashes, and all these services crash from time to time, that happens with streaming media, that's to be expected. But if it crashes, it takes both those connections with it. It decides, well, you're still watching, or we haven't determined that you've stopped watching because it's crashed. You'll have to wait at least 10 minutes before you can actually start watching on anything else. And it's exactly the reverse of what they need to be doing, because it's annoying. And the last thing when you want to sit down and veg in front of the TV is to be annoyed by all of it. Foxtel have so many apps for their existing stuff. You can get it on, Xboxes and PlayStations and smart TVs. Presto, no, it's not there at all. And that also is a big problem. It's a problem, though, that Stan has to the same extent. There's no smart TV and there's a few other technical limitations, but their content play, at least at launch, is a lot better.
Yeah, the Stan library does look a lot better than what Presto. Again, it depends exactly what you're after. Stan signed a few exclusive content deals. They've got Better Call Saul, which is the prequel to Breaking Bad. They've got some other stuff coming. It is interesting that when I was in the US talking to Netflix, they said, don't judge us in Australia by our library on launch day. Judge us by how it expands. And I think that's the same with Stan and the others as well. I don't think you can you permanently make up your mind about which is the best one just by what they have on offer today. But if you want to take it as an indication of where they're going, Stan definitely looks like it's ahead of Presto.
Yeah, look, I mean, and the thing is, I don't think you have to take it as an indication. Bear in mind, all of these services work on a monthly subscription model, and you can search and see, right, well, do they have $10 or $15 in the case of Presto worth of my money per month? And whilst we've said, Presto's initial catalogue isn't great, if it's got $15 worth of what you want to watch this month, then that's money well spent. If it doesn't have it, then it's not. And it's not going to matter who you go with if they don't have the specific programs you're after.
Yeah.
Streaming elephant in the room, of course.
Yes, it is.
That all of these services are here, but it is relatively trivial, while breaking terms of service, to access Netflix US or Netflix UK or, Netflix anywhere else on the planet, or iTunes or Google, or if you're keen, Amazon, or all these things can be had if you're keen enough.
It will actually be easier to break into Netflix in the US once Netflix comes to Australia, because the hardest thing about getting into Netflix in the US is not beating the geo-blocking, it's getting them to take your money. Although it's not really that hard, because they seem to be happy to look the other way and take Australian credit cards. But once you've got a Netflix Australian account, you can pay them in Australian dollars, no worries. Open up your Netflix Australian account and then just change your DNS service to make you think that you're in America, and bang, you've got the American library.
Well, I mean, look, there's a lot of debate about what their actual user-based numbers are.
They say it's nowhere near 200,000.
Yeah.
They reckon
Well, I've seen anywhere from 200,000 to 400,000.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, I think, edging close to 500,000 with Australian broadband speeds, I doubt it.
Yeah.
The other factor in here is whether or not you've actually got a broadband service that's capable of accessing these things in a nice enough fashion, even if you're willing to put up with standard definition broadcasts.
Well, 2 to 3 megabits per second should be enough to get you going. And I say most, I know not all. I know there are some people who are still stuck on dial-up. There are some people who are still stuck on 1 meg ADSL, and a lot of people forget about that when they talk about broadband speeds. But most people in Australia, I think, can get 2 to 3 megabits per second, and that'll be enough. That doesn't run too bad. The nice thing about at least Netflix is very good at ramping up the picture quality depending on your speed, and the sound as well. You will get 5.1 channel sound out of Netflix. If you've got one of these new Ultra HD televisions with a Netflix client in it and your internet speed's fast enough, you'll actually get Ultra HD content. So as the internet gets faster in Australia, the picture quality on at least Netflix will continue to improve. The others are sort of dragging their feet a little bit more on high definition content.
Well, Stan, where it's got content, Stan will offer you the choice between standard def and high def. via a toggle. Presto is standard definition only.
And
So,
I know
yeah,
Quickflix
it's
is
tricky.
starting to dabble in high def, but I don't think there's much there yet.
do you think though that Presto is, is just a play in that market? Say, oh look, it's here, but it's an upsell to Foxtel, and we'll keep it weak? Or do you think they might seriously push Presto as a bigger thing going forward?
If I was them, I'd be pushing Foxtel Play over Presto. I can understand why they need to have something like Presto, because there are people who think that Netflix and Foxtel are the same thing. They're not even close, but a lot of people don't get that. So I understand why Foxtel wants to be in that space. But what you get out of Play is so much more that if it's good value for you, it's really no competition. And I think Foxtel wants the ongoing subscribers, wants to be getting their money. Like, you're not going to get Game of Thrones on Presto, new episodes. You will on Foxtel Play, you will on the other services. That's where they want people to be making their money. So in the long term, I think there must be that temptation for them to make sure that Presto's not too good, because they don't want to eat into Foxtel Play, and to make sure that Foxtel Play's not too good because they don't want it to eat into home subscription. So that about wraps it up for this episode of Vertical Hole.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button.